Welcome back to Mystical Sisterhood. I'm Maureen Spielman, and today we're asking a question a lot of us carry quietly. Why does your subconscious keep repeating patterns you've consciously outgrown? I'm joined by spiritual hypnotherapist and intuitive guide, Lynnsey Robinson. She explains that your subconscious isn't broken. It's still protecting you the way it always has, using old beliefs it doesn't yet know have expired. We talk about how awareness and hypnotherapy can help you show it that something new is safe. We also get honest about manifestation culture, how it can turn into another exhausting checklist instead of something that actually makes you feel alive, and how to tell which practices genuinely work for you. Plus, past life regression, energetic resonance, and why feeling your emotions matters more than spiritually bypassing them. This episode is an invitation to stop watering yourself down. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Mystical Sisterhood. This is your host, Maureen Spielman, and today I'm with Lynnsey Robinson. And I'm excited about the conversation because we're going to take a lot of different avenues. Lynnsey is a certified hypnotherapist and intuitive guide, maybe not with the hypnotherapy, but in researching a little bit around Lynnsey's work, I can see that intuitive guide, we have to choose a name for what we do. And usually it's 2 or 3 words, but it really can't encompass what a person is up to. And so that's why I love the platform of the podcast, because it really gives more than just what you can find when you go to someone's website. So I just want to say the ways in which we refer to ourselves are often limited. Of course they are, because what comes forth from any of us is a multidimensionality that cannot be contained within words. And she is also the founder of the High Vibe in It podcast, which has been in formation since, I think you told me, Lynnsey, 2017, and a newer podcast that, if you so want to, I want to include space for today. But I want to first start by saying welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It's funny that you brought up how diluted a name could be, because it is so much more. And it's funny because I recently, obviously after I booked this, but I recently changed or pivoted my title from clinical hypnotherapist to spiritual hypnotherapist, because I find that where I love to work and where I do my best work is in that spiritual space. So it's more like soul recognition, intuition enhancement, soul journeys, where like past lives, in between lives, spirit guides, that sort of thing, connecting with higher wisdom and all of that stuff is like my favorite thing to do. And really it comes down to like, that's included in any client program that I do, because how else are you going to know yourself if you don't know your full self? You know what I mean? So, and most people are just so excited to do it anyway. Like, I want to know about my soul. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. So I've kind of adopted that as like a more appropriate title, but you are absolutely right. It would be 25 bullet points. And then also at the same time, a lot of us don't want to sound pretentious. We don't want to sound like we're a guru. So it's a walking a fine line of like, how do I tell people what I do in a way that lets them understand, not say too much, and also not sound like a weirdo. So it's very, isn't it just so, it's just such a tightrope walk of trying to figure it out. But hopefully I've landed pretty well. Spiritual hypnotherapist and intuitive guide. And I'm very happy to be here with you today. And I know that the conversation is going to be just perfect.
Well, what I've been zoning in on with regard to what you're saying too is, so often we were not, I don't know, there was something in our conditioning or in the energy that surrounded us that said that we couldn't claim certain things and
Yes.
we couldn't stake certain claims. And before we hit record, I was saying to you, I know for myself that through the medium of podcasting and the medium of really putting myself out there in different ways, that I learn about myself, I see where resistance comes in. I see where my subconscious blocks are. And then it might take me a while. Someone said to me recently, like, okay, Maureen, trust the outcome. Because even though you know the linear path isn't the way, there's still part of you that thinks if it hasn't occurred in a certain amount of time, that maybe it's not going to happen, but just this idea of trust the outcome. But I think that it's okay. And I really encourage, I'm going to say, any of us, but women in particular, to claim what we do, claim whatever name fits at the moment.
What feels good to you is going to resonate with the right people.
Yeah.
Is what I've, yeah.
And you don't have to kind of like, kind of shield or hide ourselves.
Yeah.
And I mean, has that been your journey too? Because
and we were talking about this right before, like you said, we were talking about it right before we hit record, where I've, especially 25, 26 has been an era for me of like, what's actually true though? Like, what do I feel good in saying? Which is why I changed the name. Clinical hypnotherapist is a very specific person. Spiritual hypnotherapist is also a very specific person. And so like, it just felt more authentic to me and real to me to change the name. So it started with that. And then it started with like, well, maybe I could talk about more stuff. Maybe I could show more of my weird self that would resonate with the right people. And I always say weird as a compliment because I think the best people on this planet were weirdos and weird kids. Yes. I was a weird kid and I love that about me. And I love that I have weird kids. It's amazing. But
I like that quality too.
Yes. And so it is a journey. And I think anybody listening to this is probably listening to this for a reason at this time in your life. Like, what are you kind of holding on to because it made sense on the outside, but doesn't really resonate on the inside? And how can you adjust those things? And it's a journey for all of us. Oh my gosh, I'm like right in the thick of it. And it is uncomfortable. But we're doing it.
Well, and it's that journey because it's like we're having this conversation. And then if you kind of almost like zoom above it, there'll be themes that come out of it that I think I've been sitting here doing this long enough, and maybe it's patterns I always saw, but it's like one of them already is the journey of your unfolding. And it's not just you, Lynnsey, sitting in front of me. It's any listener here. What is the journey of your unfolding? And then when I pepper in something like trust the outcome, then that seed can be planted like, oh, maybe that's for me as well. Either like something you say stirs something in me, stirs something in the listener. It's just this beautiful kind of symphony that's happening.
Yes. And that's why I always say, like, anytime I do a podcast or go on someone else's podcast, I always say, like, I just trust the conversation is going to be exactly what needs to be said. I don't like to over prepare. I don't like to really, I mean, with my podcast, obviously we have topics that we want to talk about, but when I go on someone's, I'm just like, you ask me whatever you want. We talk about whatever you want because it's going to be magical. It's going to be perfect and exactly what's needed at the time. And it always is, you know?
Yeah. Let me ask you a question just based on me meeting you in person for the first time today. Why is it that when we go into certain rooms or into certain, let's just call it one-on-one, like experiences or getting together with somebody, that it can feel so at home quickly? That, as soon as you jumped on, I'm like sharing personal things about
we did just dive right in, didn't we?
We did. So what is that? What's happening on a soul level when we come together with another person that we feel like we've maybe known before? We have some comfort level, because I love seeing the people that's occurred with for me in my lifetime.
This is exactly what I just said, which is absolute perfection. I just posted today, I think, a video on Instagram about this, because I posted a video about past lives, reincarnation, soul groups, soulmates, people that resonate with us and why we feel like we know them. And I just posted that video today, kind of explaining exactly this, which is, it is one of those unexplainable things, but I want to do my best. It's almost like a resonance. Like, I have a resonance, crystals have a resonance, everything has a resonance. And in that way, you don't have to be in the same room. We're not in the same room. You're over in Chicago. I'm in Michigan. We're not too far apart, but we're not in the same room. And so you don't have to be in physical space with somebody to feel their resonance. And when mine recognizes yours, it could mean we were in a past life together, or it could just mean, oh, she gets it. She gets me. I get her. This is going to be great and fun. And it seems to be that when you are at a certain resonance, you tend to attract people of a similar resonance. And that's why you kind of, that saying, like, you are the common denominator of everybody you surround yourself with. who are you surrounding yourself with? You know, we are affected by everybody's vibe and everybody's signature. So I was going to say this too, like for better, for worse, you can have this dissonance. Is that what the word is? Dissonance? When you walk into a room and there's somebody you know is not your, you can feel it immediately. Like, oh, they're not my people. This is not my vibe. This is not, your hackles stand up.
Yeah, totally.
With it,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. It is that something you can't explain, that inner knowing, that resonance that will either recognize somebody or be repelled by somebody. And I think it's important to listen to that. And you might go in and meet somebody and nothing happens. And you're just like, oh, I'm curious to know more about this person. But eventually you will. And you will understand that they either drain you, they either are not for you, or they give you life, they give you energy, and they excite you and light you up in a way that only someone who recognizes your resonance can do.
Yeah. So that kind of direct question of what gives you life and what takes life from you, pay attention to it. And there's not right or wrong to it as well.
Yes.
It's just a discernment that as we go through life, it's sort of, I've been using that word signal lately because I feel like that's kind of in the field right now. Like, what's your signal? And so what you're talking about is like points of attraction. And it's not right or wrong if someone's not in that same wavelength frequency. It's just an energetic mismatch.
Exactly. Like, you're not for everybody, right? No one is for everybody, and everybody is for someone. And so whether or not you align with this person in front of you, somebody's going to. Make sure you don't make it your job to align with everybody, because it's not going to happen. A, you're just going to water yourself down. And B, there's someone for everybody. So if it's not you, it's someone else, and that's fine.
Do you think that that's been a lesson that you can really apply to your own life as well in terms of developing your voice and the direction you've been led into?
I will say it this way. I had to turn up my voice because it was more uncomfortable to stay where I was than to just say the weird thing. Of course, the idea that the right people will find you is a good concept, and I completely believe it. I would be not super authentic if I said that that's what I was thinking about at the time. Like, oh, I'm going to turn up my voice and then I'll attract people that come to me. It wasn't like that. It was like, I can't shut up anymore. I just can't shut up anymore. So it feels good. I'm going to do it, and we'll let the chips fall where they may. And of course, there's someone for everybody. And of course, it wasn't for me like a huge fear that I would be isolated, because I just don't care in that way. I do and I don't. It's so complicated, and it's so hard to explain, because of course you care if people like you and people resonate with your message. But at the same time, it's like eventually, more often than not, you'll get so uncomfortable with not being authentic that you just have to do it and let the chips fall where they may.
What comes to me, and I think in my own journey, is it's often the people that are closest in my inner circle that I have put meaning to. And for me, I think that was less about my immediate family, but more maybe that next layer of people in my life. Or even if I knew that there was feedback coming that like, oh, it's super cool what you're doing, I would think about people in my town or like a certain listener. Cause I feel like the thing that I never knew or really referred to myself as was an empath. I think I probably am one. It's just like, you know, how certain language fits, and so, you know, you're like, yeah, that's me, or it's not me. But I think that I am a very, very sensitive person. And what I've been most afraid of was, who was I leaving out? Or who was that one person that what I was saying might not land well with? And I think that's part of who I am, is that like almost like interpersonal sensitivity. I don't want to call it a challenge, but it's part of who I am. And I guess it's a part of how I'm going to shape my message, because I do care.
This is exactly how it felt for me, and probably still does on a certain level. Like when I'll post on social media, I'll be like, how can anyone take this? And could somebody take this in this way? Could somebody take this in this way? And this is the way that I actually intend it. So how can I say it in a way that I intend it and also not leave any room for anyone to misunderstand whatsoever? But then like, it's a fool's game, because of course somebody, if they want to misunderstand, they will. And so I think for me, it's become more of like, how would the people I'm talking to understand this because I'm not talking to everybody. And
No,
that's okay.
and the thing about it is what I was saying to you before we recorded is I will go to YouTube and look at not a lot, but some of the videos that people I love how they say their messages. And I feel like that those messages align with mine.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at a point in time where consciousness is rising. And so, why delegate those messages to only those people when
Yeah.
there are really things that I
Yeah.
believe also, or I know they're my reason for being here? And
Babe,
so,
it's all hands on deck. It is
mhm,
all hands on deck right now. It really is.
yeah.
100% agree.
So that helps you kind of get your voice out there more too. There were a few things that I loved. You said you were talking about, because for the listener, if I receive a query from a public relations person, I'll usually get information about the potential guest.
Mm-hmm.
So it usually says, like on yours, potential topics. And that gives me a nice guidepost. But when you said, something about what you see as manifesting burnout, I'm
Yeah.
wondering, what is it that you mean by that, and what is here for us? Like, where have you seen almost like, I don't want to say how the messages can be misconstrued, but where are you seeing sort of the distortion or the breakdown around some of the talk in the manifestation world?
Well, here's my perspective. Take it or leave it, but it's true for me. So it is true that on the internet and on social media and in this whole atmosphere of manifesting, there is so many tools, hacks, tricks. You got to try this, that sort of thing. It's like Vegas with all the billboards in your face and the flashing lights, and it's like let's try this one and this one and this one, and it's so easy. And I've done this to fall into doing it all. You're going to do it all because you are someone who does everything and you are someone who does it right. And, you want to make sure you follow all the steps and do it exactly the way it feels or it should feel. And then you kind of maybe do a couple of these things and they feel pretty good because it's your first time ever trying something and that's exciting and they feel all right. And you try a couple other ones and they don't feel good, but you're going to do it anyway because they told you to do it and it works. It works for them, so it's going to work for you too. Yeah, you're going to burn out and you're going to throw it all out because who can do them all? No one's doing them all. I'm just going to say that. No one is successfully doing everything. No one is successfully doing everything. So my advice, and again, I've been here, so it's tried and true.
Yeah.
Remember what you tried that felt really good. There are things that you tried in your manifesting practice that felt really good. And if you haven't found it yet, how cool is that you get to explore and find the thing that feels good and stop wasting your time on all this stuff that doesn't feel good? Because I'm going to tell you something. If you're doing it and it doesn't feel good, it's not doing the job you wanted it to do anyway. It's not. It's not doing anything. So if you want it to work and give you momentum and make you feel all the feelings that you're supposed to feel or that you hear people are feeling, you got to let go of this idea that what worked for them is going to work for you. Because how often does that happen? Do you know how many ways there are to be successful in this world? A bajillion. And what worked for them is probably not going to work for you. But what works for you is going to work for you. And you get to find out what that is. For me, the things that feel really, really good are lighting my incense every day and calling in my guides and grounding myself and giving intention for the day. Another thing I really love to do before I even get out of bed is, hey guides, welcome to another day. Walk with me today. If you want to show me some signs, that'd be great. Sometimes I'll say, show me how great today can be. I can't wait for you to surprise me in the best way. And just be open. That it does two things. Number one, it starts you off on a really good note. Number two, it leaves you open for the way it can go right instead of the way that you are rigidly holding on to in your brain, which is a key. You got to be flexible. There's so many ways. Whether journaling is your thing, art can be a form of this. Any kind of creativity. What is it? Creativity is the soul at play. So anything you can do that awakens that creativity is speaking directly to your soul, which is, if your soul is happy, reality bends around you. It just does. So when your soul is happy, do anything that's creative. I mean, I could go on and on, whether it's journaling or pulling tarot oracle cards or going out in nature is a big one. Back to basics, I say. back to basics. What do you really love to do, and do that. And then there's a way to manifest around that. Affirmations we can talk about. There's ways to do them in ways that are detrimental to you, literally not working. So if you're somebody who struggles with affirmations, I can absolutely tell you why and help you. Yeah, it's just burnout is trying to do everything. That's how we burn out with anything. And manifesting is probably one of the most insidious ways to burn out, because it's supposed to feel good and you're supposed to do it and it's supposed to have a great payoff. And it's just another way to fill your plate too full.
Wow.
So just don't.
That's good. That's really good.
Just don't do it.
Well, and it really caught my eye too, because I believe it to be true. Well, for me, I'll just say my experience is when I hear the messages of manifestation, they feel very high vibration to me. They feel, and it's interesting to watch yourself in the process, because I knew I was going down some different kind of rabbit holes, more like the dark side, the very shadow side of the world a few weeks back, a couple months back. And I was like, whoa,
Girl, who wasn't? Okay. We're just trying to survive out here.
Yes.
It's hard out here. So give yourself some grace.
Well, and I was saying to you, like, how I can see that information, or someone might put it in my purview, and I can be like, okay, yeah, true. But then I was feeling, I may have said this in a recent podcast recording, but I actually had a dream going into the week where I felt like I was doing battle with the stuff that I had been reading, or some sort of like a different kind of energy. And it was like really intense. And I woke up on the Monday morning and I'm like, oh my God, the Maureen, this is really not that beneficial to you. You're dreaming about it. You're in the struggle in your dreams.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'm just going to pull out the vortex and do some Abraham Hicks and listen and everything. And that kind of like can bring my vibration higher.
Same.
But it's a little bit what you're saying of like all of a sudden, and someone else gave me a different perspective on it just recently, is that some entities that are channeled through some books like Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks, they've never taken life in a human body, the entities that are being channeled. So yes, it's a great philosophy on the beauty of life and what's possible, and our thoughts our thinking controls our reality, and all the things that when I listen, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. But then I'm like, well, what about my emotions? And what about my belief systems? And that's where I want you to talk a little bit about the spiritual hypnotherapy that you're up to now, and why that's an important part of the services you offer, the practices you do with people, because is there other stuff sort of running the show beneath the surface?
Yes. So I think going back to what you said about Abraham Hicks, completely agree. And it's something that I often think about when I listen to it too, is just like, okay, but you're not here. Like, you're not walking on the pavement in the world, which is a lot easy for you to say, kind of thing. But I think the main message that I love to get from Abraham Hicks, and I think anyone can get, is I am someone who sometimes needs permission to go have fun, right? I'm a very big multitasker, and I'm an overachiever, and I'm one of those people that, like, if you haven't gotten that idea yet, I just love checking boxes. I love being productive. Okay. And so it's an easy way to burn out. But when someone's like, just go do what you like, because that's the best way to get back into alignment. And it's true, by the way. Sometimes it's what we need, I can just go take a minute and go frolic. I'm going to go frolic for a little bit, and then I'm come back and do some action, because you can't have any kind of manifestation without some kind of action. But going on to answer your question about spiritual hypnotherapy, yes, a lot of times every human has things that are operating under the surface. And this is hypnotherapy in general, really. It just helps you get to a space where you can access what those things are. And the way I like to put it is this: your subconscious is running off of things that worked once. And if it worked once, in the logic of your subconscious brain, which logic doesn't live there, that's in the conscious. We can get into that if you want. But in the knowledge of your subconscious, what worked once is going to work forever. So we're just going to keep doing it. It doesn't know expiration dates. It doesn't know that you've outgrown this. It doesn't know that you don't need it anymore. So it's just going to keep doing it. But the way I explain it is this: you have the power to teach your subconscious what is safe, because it's only giving you things that it thinks are safe for you. Your reality is built around what it thinks is safe for you. And you're 100% successful at having the life exactly the way that your subconscious believes is real and safe for you. But if you could teach it what is safe, what would you do? And that is a nice, fun place to play, because then possibilities are endless, you know? So that's kind of what hypnotherapy does in general. Now, when I bring in the spiritual part of it, it really is just, how can we help you be the most authentic version of you so that you can show up in the world with all of your brilliance? Every single one of you is brilliant and magnificent. And if you don't believe that, it's because you don't know yourself that well. And that's where we come in. That's where hypnotherapy comes in. That's where we're able to really get to know the soul self integrated with the body, the energy, the conscious, the subconscious, the whole being, so that you become really unstoppable with anything you want to do. The only thing stopping you is your belief that you can, honestly. And that's where we go. That's what we do.
And did the hypnotherapy lead you to other possibilities? I know that you mentioned past life exploration. Is that something that's accessible in a hypnotic state? Or
Yes.
is that channeling that you're doing, or what's happening
No,
there?
I channel, but I don't channel. It's so complicated. I'm trying to embrace this as well. In a session, I will say things that the client's like, wait, what? How did you know that? It just happens. And I have learned to stop ignoring it and brushing it off, because it's part of it. It's all part of it. And it's part of the bullet points that we were talking about. Like, I could say, oh, I also channel sometimes in sessions. But when it comes to Akashic records, when it comes to the soul's knowledge, it's all client led. So if you want to do a session to open your Akashic records, we can do that. You're going to do it. I'm going to take notes while you tell me about you. And there are some people who don't want to do that. I'm somebody who loves when a psychic can just tell me stuff. But I will say, being somebody in a session, because I've experienced both, obviously, and being somebody in a session, being able to say these things, because you're not asleep, okay? You are consciously here and subconsciously here. So it's a bringing up of the subconscious while the conscious is still active. It's all parts of your mind active at the same time. So it will feel like you are here, but you're also somewhere else. It's like that dreamy, floaty space right before you fall asleep, except you're able to speak. And so when you're able to access that knowledge, say it out loud, your conscious mind is saying, what the heck did you just say? And your subconscious is like, shh, I got this. I got this. I got this. It's just going. It's the coolest feeling in the world. So I will say there's value in both, but it is in a session with me. If you're doing a past life or a life between life or a soul journey session, it is you telling me. And it's, you might be sitting there thinking, I could never access that stuff. That's because you're not in hypnosis right now. Trust me. You can.
Yeah. Have you seen people with different, I want to say, abilities or levels of accessing or going into the hypnotic state? Does that differ by individual?
It is so different by individual. Well, I do want to say everybody's goes into hypnosis every day. Remember, I said it's that dreamy, floaty space right before you fall asleep. So if you've ever fallen asleep, guess what? You're an expert in how this feels and you know how to do it. The body's most natural state of being is homeostasis. And that is that's kind of what we achieve. But yes, it does depend on the person. I've had people, oh my goodness, there's this one. Okay. So it ranges, obviously. There will be people who just experience one life and get the blurry outlines of what it is. And of course, practice makes better. If we do it more than once and you're accustomed to how this feels and you know how it feels to be led into the state, you become more proficient and you're able to see more clearly and feel and all the things. But I had this one client who, I don't know if he had ever done one before. I forget now. It was years ago when I was doing in-person sessions in like 2013, right? Ooh, that was a long time ago. But I was doing this past life regression and he was like, it felt like he grabbed my hand and just ran. He didn't, not physically, but in the session, it felt like, okay, we're going to another one. He let me, I would say, tag along to about 5 different past lives. And he wasn't even in charge. He was like, my spirit guide's doing all of this. Like, it's taking me here and here and here and here. And he went to like 5 different lives. And I'm just like frantically taking notes. I can't keep up. I cannot write fast enough, but it was nuts. It was absolutely crazy. And one of the lives that stick out was I think, was Carl Jung, because he related a life where he worked closely with Freud. They shared an office together. And I don't know anything about their office space. I don't know anything about this. I don't know how much this client knew. That's irrelevant. But he was just like, I'm sharing an office with Freud. He hates how messy I am. I always keep my side of the office really messy. And so he always comes in and tells me like how messy I am, whatever. He details like my secretary always wore yellow gloves and she would always put them in the top left drawer of her desk. Things like that are what the client will always be able to say. Things that you would not think about, which is why I think it's so magical, and absolutely you're tapping into something, because these are things that you would never consciously make up. You know what I mean? And over decades of I guess 13 years of doing this, you can't ignore the fact that something's going on. Even if I wanted to, which I don't, but even if I wanted to be like the skeptic and like, oh, it's just your imagination. Like there are things that happen in session that are just beyond. So, you know, you kind of have to accept it at some point. It's just happening.
It's amazing. You know, I think that what I sense from you is that you love to work in different realms with people. You like to go into these spaces of our consciousness. And so if you were to advise, if you could, someone on how to be a more active participant in their dream life,
Ooh.
are there the things that we can do before we go to sleep or when we wake up or anything like that? Because I think dreams are fascinating.
I'm not certified, but I will say part of my education in hypnotherapy is dream therapy, which is like the ability to discern what your dreams mean. You, the individual, not from a dream book, because your symbols are going to mean more than anything in a book anyway. But as far as, I think you're referring to lucid dreaming and like being active in your dreams, my 10-year-old is on a mission to be a lucid dreamer, and he has been successful a couple times, and he even had one with his school friends once. Like they all got together in their dreams. It was just very interesting. He's a Pisces, what can I say? He's a very spiritual kid, but he loves all of it. But one thing that I told him that I learned for dream therapy is, if you want a lucid dream, put something next to your pillow or something you'll see before you go to bed in your eye line that says, I will remember to remember my dreams. Or if you want to change it, I will be an active participant in my dreams. Tonight, I am going to lucid dream. And a good thing about a good, I guess, tip to lucid dreaming is find a symbol that when you see it, you know that you're lucid dreaming. For some people, it can happen like the first time. Chances are you're going to need to practice it. So I would just say, don't give up. Keep trying.
Okay. I love that. So you have your original podcast you do with Kelsey called High Vibe in it. How would you describe that to the listener who might not know it?
That is a podcast for manifesting, self-love, mindset. We have guests on there that are, experts in their field that talk about manifesting, self-love, spirituality. They come and talk about like their psychic abilities. It's a lot of like channelers, psychics, human design, anything that helps you kind of reconnect with who you really are and reconnect with your power. We always give action steps in every episode. We always give like something that you can do or take away from it. And it's just a fun time. We get to talk about high vibes.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good.
Oh, one thing that we do, and I feel like the name kind of is elusive, or it's a little bit of a misnomer, but we always talk about the importance of feeling your feelings. Feel your damn feelings, because high vibe in it is easy to just think, well, I just got to stay high vibe. I just got to be happy. But that is actually called toxic positivity. And we do not condone that over here on High Vibe in it. And I don't think you do either. So,
no.
So the point is to understand that everything you're feeling is a message. Everything you're feeling has a reason. And so that is also part of getting to know yourself. And once you're able to figure out why I'm feeling this way, it can pass. It can process faster. But if you're sitting here shoving it down and trying to ignore it, it's going to be a dull ache instead of something that you can let out. It's not going anywhere, by the way.
Yeah.
It's going to be there until you feel it and allow it a voice.
Oh, I love it.
Which is incidentally another really great hypnosis session is we can give a voice to anything. So if you have a limiting belief that you don't know where it came from, or if you have a block or something that was not said that you really wish you could get off your chest, we can do a session around it. Get into hypnosis, see it in front of you, say whatever you want, let it say back what it wants to say to you, because 9 times out of 10, I say that conservatively, 10 out of 10 times, the block is there because it's keeping you safe from something. Whether it makes sense or not, it's keeping you safe from something. And so when you're able to give it a voice and understand where it's coming from, feelings, emotions, blocks, whatever it is, it's allowed to release. So it's a really fun session. I love doing those.
Yeah. What have you most learned about yourself having been a podcaster for as many years as you have?
Well, two things come to mind. Number one, I'm allergic to vulnerability. Number two, it's okay. It's okay. And it's funny because like I have learned this, it's a theme about me in general where it's just okay. What's okay? All of it. All of it's okay. However you feel today, however you want to feel tomorrow, what you got done today, what you didn't get done today, it's all okay.
Yeah.
Give yourself more grace because we're just all out here doing our best, you know? And by the way, we're all making it up. Nobody knows anything. We have beliefs, we have experiences, we have things that we know to be true. And if it resonates with somebody else, then great, but nobody really knows.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Your subconscious is formed when you're 9 to 10 years old. That's when it gets locked in. That's when everything that's true about you gets locked in. So
it's really early. Right?
So yes. So think about what was happening around that age. Everything up until when you were 9 or 10 years old, probably that's why Freud always talked about childhood. That's why people talk about childhood. And I don't think he knew why at the time, although he did dabble in hypnosis for a minute. I don't think we really understood what it really meant. But what it really means is who you are is a 9-year-old walking around in an adult suit trying to figure it out. Yeah. But you also have tools that will help you figure it out and decide what goes beyond that 9-year-old, where you're going instead of where you are now or where you've been. So that's the good news. The good news is you have a say and you have absolute say in what your subconscious believes and where you're going and who you are.
And the power of expression. If you want to share, you said before we recorded, you said that you are on a new podcast endeavor and the name of it, if you want to share, because I think a lot of the listeners will be interested. The
podcast I just started early this year, I don't think we're only on episode like 20. So it's 20 weeks ago we started. It's called Spiritual Kinks. We were going to say spirituality after dark or something like that. But really what it represents is like everything that's taboo in spirituality, we're going to talk about it. Like just today, we talked about all the different, taboo to some. What's taboo to one person isn't taboo to another person. So we did a 2-part episode on divination tools and how to use them and our favorite ones to use. And then we did the burning of Alexandria library archive. So it goes everywhere, but it really just goes into the deep history, deep truths that we forgot, ancient knowledge, the patriarchy, things like that. We're just trying to squish, but yeah, it really just comes back to like how cool it is to be a human on this planet. And we talk about the things that I don't usually get to talk about on High Vibing because it's not the same thing. We talked about aliens. We talked about the Vatican. We talk about, it goes everywhere. So if you're interested at all, I know I just gave like a billion different examples. So how it's a big umbrella of things that we talk about. We talked about Gerald the dolphin. Gerald the dolphin.
I only recently heard about Gerald the dolphin. I never knew about this entity.
That kind of thing is where we go on Spiritual Kinks. So if you're interested, you can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts, and we would be so happy to have you.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, and High Vibe, and it's also everywhere you listen to podcasts. So whatever your vibe is, I probably have a podcast for it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Just such a good medium. If you were to leave the listener today with a message that's just coming through you, we'll just trust that, what would it be?
You ain't seen nothing yet. That's what it is. I've never said that on a podcast before. Usually it's like, oh my gosh, you're so powerful. You can do it. What just came through was you haven't seen anything yet. Meaning if there's something you're trying to accomplish, if there's anything that you want to experience, you, the listener, dear, wonderful, expansive, gigantic soul, powerful ass soul. Sorry. My channeling involves swearing. Sorry. No, you haven't seen anything yet. Meaning like you just, it's so much more than you can possibly think. And I think that's for me too. Because I've never said that before on a podcast. I think it's for everybody.
It's a great
You
message.
haven't seen anything yet.
And I haven't heard it
late.
yet when I asked that question. So thank you for that. And so the listeners can find you on either podcast, or I believe it's your name, Lynnsey Robinson.
Lynnsey Robinson. LYNNSEY. There's no D to be found.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll include that in all my information and on Instagram. But thank you so much for being here. It was a delight to get into conversation around your work and who you are. Thank you. Thank you.
This was so much fun. Thank you for having me. It's actually been such a pleasure.
Oh, great. I'm happy. Thanks to the listener, as always, for being here. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to this episode of Mystical Sisterhood. To learn more about my one-on-one coaching programs or join the Mystical Sisterhood membership, visit MaureenSpielman.com or MysticalSisterhood.com. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next episode.